Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Parallel League podcast. This week, Mookah and I are joined by Free Tip Scout and Quinto, our fellow casters, for this end of the year holiday year in review special, I suppose. So we're going to talk about some of our favorite moments, players, cards, that type of stuff. But before we get into the episode, let's talk about some news real quick. The final minor of the season is this weekend, December 28th and 29th, and the top 8 stream will be on the 29th. It is the final month to earn league points from linked ladder as well as the in-game tournaments. And the final major is January 11th and 12th, as well as the Prime Wiki Awards on the 11th. So make sure you tune in to that as well. Top 150 of the Parallel League points rankings will be invited to the world's last chance qualifier, minus the top 21 and winners of majors. So that is some pretty exciting stuff. All right, guys, how are you feeling today? Are you excited to talk about the year of Parallel?
Yep.
Yeah, big time. I mean, to be honest with you, I'm struggling to believe that we're even here at the end of the year, let alone doing an end of year review on Parallel, right? It's been such a quick year. Merry Christmas, by the way, to everyone that watches this and listens to it as well. Yeah, can't wait. Should be good. There's a lot for us to review as well, I think, right? It's been a huge year so far in 2024. So yeah, should be fun.
Well, when did the competitive season start? Was it July?
I believe it was July, like around the same time as Planetfall.
Okay.
So let's jump straight in. We got a few questions here that everyone will be answering, and we'll get everyone's takes on the year based on these questions. The first one is gonna be a fun one. Most frustrating Paragon. I'm gonna throw this one to Quinto first. Throughout the whole year, what was the most frustrating Paragon that for you?
I mean, definitely, I would say that the most frustrating Paragon, I mean, right now it isn't, but throughout the year, I can definitely say it was the Juggernaut Workshop. The start of the year, we still had the OTK Juggernaut going on. Then we had a whole period where we had the Universal Augencore Workshop deck. So I would definitely choose that one as the most annoying, frustrating Paragon because of how often, like, I always said, like, in these situations where you finally think like you regain board control, you would get like this the artillery juggernaut dealing 2 damage to your units, clearing up your board, or just the 3/6 to stop your aggro, for example. So definitely, and everybody knows it, is by itself is the most powerful Paragon. So yeah, that's my take on this one.
Am I a struggler? Do I have like trauma because I kind of miss the workshop OTK days a little bit sometimes? Like, am I a victim of trauma?
I think we sometimes forget like how much of the beginning of competitive Parallel was defined by that deck. Those early tournaments, it was just like OTK Juggernaut mirrors all of the time, and it was also the first deck that I think that the influencers, like that first creator invitational with those other pro TCG players, like they all really took to that deck because it was kind of the one that you could flex your skills the most, right? So
yeah. I mean, I was a little bit lucky because by the time I came into Parallel, it was on its way out. So I think I only really saw it in play like a handful of times, and I do remember it because I was like, wow, like being so new to Parallel, I was like, what the hell is this? You know, like it comes on, it gets all the upgrades, and then it attacks you immediately. I was like, wow, I need to switch over to that. But then actually I was in the process of switching over, and then that just got completely nerfed. So I was like, okay, put that on ice then. But I can imagine that was pretty frustrating.
It was a king back in its day.
It's fall from grace, I must say.
It's I don't know if anyone will ever make that card or that deck a thing again. I mean, without Battle Ready, that was the big change, right? Battle Ready. And losing that, and I forgot something else they changed with the card, but like that was the big thing. It can't attack and can get dealt with rather easy. All right, Scout, passing it to you. Most frustrating Paragon.
Well, I don't think this is going to come as a surprise to many people that know me because I have ranted and raved about it for quite a lot of time. It is clearly, for me, Kathy. Kathy has literally aged me about 2 years in the past 6 months. I mean, honestly, the stress that deck gave me, the frustration. I'm not kidding when I say this, right? This is not an exaggeration. It actually got me to the point where I nearly broke, where I was nearly like, am I done with this game? Because like I was getting so frustrated with it. Like it just felt like,
Oh.
especially with Shroud, it felt like you were
Mhm.
constantly just fighting a losing battle. It was so one-sided in many ways. So for me, it was Kathy. Yeah, it was crazy OP, and it went on for so long as well, didn't it? That's the thing. It wasn't just like it was a difficult deck and a really horrible deck to deal with if you wasn't playing it. It was like, well, that's a really difficult deck that I am going to have to continue to deal with because it was like every month after it was like still Kathy's number one, Kathy's number one. So as you say, Mooka, like that was a king for the Juggernaut OTK deck. I mean, Kathy was the queen. It looks like the queen's gone down with the king for now because yeah, her reign is over, thankfully. So yeah, big time. That was for me. That's been the big standout, and I'm relieved that we have a slightly different strength at the top in terms of the deck, and it's just not so Kathy orientated anymore because it just got to the point where all you were playing was Kathy, and you're like, oh man, like I'm so sick and tired of seeing this woman,
Kathy has survived in so many ways, right? Like
Yeah.
we say Kathy,
Yeah.
you can think of like 3 or 4 different versions of the deck.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's just even now, like maybe you can definitely argue that it's not top dog anymore, but still good. Still survived. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
I don't know how that it like well, I don't know if we'll ever see maybe like a gutting period for Kathy, but Kathy it's just actually kind of impressive that one
Mm.
Paragon has been so competitive for most of the year, pretty much.
Yeah.
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 I think it's just the quality of the Markolian cards is
Mhm.
really high,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Kathy's incredibly consistent, only, 4 cost, getting your Paragon online, like, yeah, it makes sense that she's super powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that was
I
the. Sorry,
No, go ahead, go ahead.
After you, Mika. I was going to say, like, just to further your point, both of your points there. It was the case where, okay, if they nerfed one card that basically softened, like say for example the burn deck, you'd be like, okay, fine, the
Mhm.
burn deck's no longer as strong. But then so many people just migrated to say then the unit deck, right?
Yeah.
And
Sure,
then the
yeah.
unit deck was really, really strong. And then kind of like after that got a little bit of a nerf, then it was almost like a hybrid of the two. And so she just kept surviving and going on and evolving in a way where you were like, oh no, like I've got to deal
Yeah.
with something even more now with Kathy.
Yeah.
Just when I thought it was done. So yeah, really
I mean,
impressive but annoying.
the
Yeah.
the big madness when you could like with Kathy's rallying cry get like 2 logistic support cruisers, for
Mhm.
example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was like, so okay, what do I do? Hit concede? That's it.
There was a
Yeah.
time though where Lemieux was clearly the pick, like with the
Yes.
Mm.
LPC, like there was,
Yeah.
and it was like playing Kathy
Yeah.
was like, what are you
Yeah.
doing?
Before
And then
Rallying
that
Cry.
quickly changed.
Rallying
I
Cry
mean,
made Kathy
yeah.
king or
Yeah.
queen,
I
whatever.
remember Mooka, you like before Kathy became what it is. You were playing Kathy. I remember one time I was playing CP. Go, I'm here
Yeah.
laddering, and then Mooka out of the sun with Kathy.
Yeah,
Like that was the beginning.
I forgot when I started, but yeah, Sippy. This was during the Sippy like reign, the first Sippy
Yeah.
reign,
Mm.
and before
Mhm.
Sippy got nerfed like 4 times in a row to like bring it back in line. And yeah, I would play Kathy, and it was pretty good. But I remember the one change they made fleet support a 3 cost, and
Mm.
I was like, oh, this deck is now bonkers, and it just like
Mm.
was winning
Oh, but
just
even
everything.
before that, I'm talking even
Before,
before that,
yeah,
like
before
before
that, I was.
Planetfall, you
Oh
were
wait,
rolling a Kathy.
I thought I was mostly playing Lemmy back then. I remember I did Road to Master free to play challenge with Lemmy, and I did that. Maybe I did play Kathy a lot then
Yeah,
too. I did
I
like
remember.
Kathy.
I remember.
Yeah,
You were playing
yeah,
Kathy before Planetfall.
yeah. Yeah, I was a Marco head from the start, but I'm gonna make myself go after Scout because I'm gonna agree with him. I think Kathy is the most frustrating Paragon. It's just like Parallel is such a very tempo heavy card game that as soon as Rallying Cry became a thing, that Kathy was always going to be like pretty good in my opinion. Even like with the changes, the card is still good. Like we just saw in this last major, and even in the qualifier, like everyone was still running Kathy in their decks during the Swiss, and even in obviously in the top bracket, you bring an extra deck, so Kathy was still in there. Kathy's just always been good. I almost want, and this is crazy because I like Markolian the most. I want Marco to go through kind of like a drought that like I feel Augencore lands itself in sometimes, where it's like
Yeah.
not playable. I don't want it to not be playable, but like it's just really really good. It's very very strong. Um, but yeah, like I think Kathy's added to my least favorite.
All right, I will
That
go.
leaves you, Allie. You're last.
My
Last for
the
this
most
first.
frustrating Paragon is John for not being a playable Paragon.
The
My answer.
opposite.
Good point. Good point.
But my real answer is also Kathy. And I suppose, but for the sake of being different, I feel like Naeus was a little frustrating. Like I think the evolution of
Yeah.
Naeus, like I used to think that it was like kind of a brainless deck. You just start smacking with your units and they grow, win, which it kind of was a lot of the time. But I think that as the lists evolved over time, it was more difficult of a deck to play, I think, than I initially gave it credit for. But just the passive of Naeus was nuts. And it also enabled like bots to be able to be a thing, So I would say like, you know, maybe Naeus will be my answer just for the sake of being different. But yeah.
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 I was kind of sad that Nace got hit with a very, very big nerf like recently. And when it came out, like I understood, I'm like, cool, but I was like, I finally saw a Nace build that I was so happy to try. It was Kartoha's build.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll give the list to Mark and he can put it up on screen for a second. But he had this build with like triple convergent recruiter. It was like the super turbo Naeus, like so fast. It would just keep getting units, keep playing units. And I remember that he played it, and I saw it on the tournament thing, and I was just staring at it, and I was like, "Yo, this has to be one of the best lists I've seen in Parallel," just because it was so good at what it did. And Naeus is such a you could argue one dimensional or brain dead kind of like Paragon to play, and he had this kind of synergy that looks so cool. And then I remember we had Veen on, and they were like, "Yeah, Naeus is getting nerfed," and I was like, "Oh, well, there goes that dream." But it was such a cool deck that I wanted to
Yeah.
mess with. But yeah, that Naeus is a good add too. Let's move on to the next question here. Most innovative card design. This is a hard one. I'm gonna throw this to Ali first because it's hard. So I figure why not throw you on the spot? Your face looks like you're dealing with some
Yeah.
struggles on what to pick.
I do think this is probably the hardest thing because, when I think of innovative, it's like, oh, what have I not seen in a card game, before? And I think the thing that my brain goes to is the bank. Banking is quite unique. So the two that are coming to mind, which are weird because they're just like core cards in the base set, Gaia's Call. Like I think, pulling stuff out of the bank, very interesting. I kind of wish that well, actually, I don't know. I was about to say I wish we saw Gaia's Call a little bit more, but maybe I don't.
Yeah, be careful with that one. Yeah.
Be careful with that one. But then the second card that I've just always loved that I thought enabled interesting gameplay was Hydraulis Chamber. I feel like those days of Scipius, like choosing what units to sacrifice, pop out more clones, buff with the subjugate. Like, I just feel like that gameplay was peak Scipius for me. I really loved that. So I suppose those are my two answers.
That's a good one. My hot take is that Hydraless Chamber is still good, but it's just that there's no really good cards to ramp into yet for Scipius. Once there is, I think it'll be better. That's a good one. All right, I'll go after you. Just to give Scout and Quinto a little break because we threw them on first. Mine is it's a two card design. It's two cards that synergize with each other that I really like, and it's Neve's Dominion and Malia. I think that card design is just very cool to see. absolutely transformed Shroud and how Shroud is played. You know,
Definitely.
Shroud used to be all about trying to survive to the late game and just kind of take over. And then Neve became this like force in the mid range because it could like wipe a board, but like you'd lose life. And normally that's a terrible thing. But then if you had like Amalia, like even now in today's meta, if you're against Scipius, like the dream hand is like double Dominion Malia because you just wipe the
Yeah.
board twice, you rack up like 18 pings or something, and then you just drop Amalia and you win from there. I like that kind of gameplay. It's like kind of weird because it seems counterintuitive to like a new player. Like, oh, I'm
Mhm.
losing life. Why is that a good thing? And then you have this power card that synergizes with it well. I like that combo a lot.
Yeah.
Bring
I mean,
back
I
the
don't like
heel.
you right now. Sorry, Ali. I was going to say, I don't like Mooka right now because he almost stole my answer there. I wish I'd have gone first
Oh,
on that one. But I like it.
Hoot.
And I've got another answer backed up.
okay,
But
okay.
I just wanted to say, I really like that answer because with the Dominion and Malia, it was all about managing the risk and reward, right?
Mhm.
And so it just added that extra layer of strategy to it. So yeah, I think I agree with you. I think that was such a great kind of synergy of those two cards. But yeah, damn you for taking my answer.
All right. So what's your backup? What's your backup then?
Okay, so what my backup was going to be the Miasmancer, just
Okay.
because I think it was quite a cool card the way that worked. It sort of came out of nowhere because no one was really using it, and all of a sudden overnight they were using it, and it really transformed the meta to the point where then the card had to be nerfed, right? Because everyone was running 3 of it, and then it was just too much. But I thought that was really cool because like there's not really another card like that in the game at the moment. It's very unique, and there's obviously like there's some ways to slightly counter that, but once it comes down, that's it. I mean, you can't really do anything about it until it resolves. So I thought that was probably another good one that was worth mentioning. Yeah, the Miasmancer.
Yeah. I feel like there were so many good universal cards. Like I like that you mentioned Mia's Mancer because whenever I think of that card, I just think of the evolution of that universal deck that we
Mhm.
saw like
Yeah.
over time, right? Like and
Yeah.
we don't have a specific, I guess, like, oh, maybe we do have a question that kind of like alludes to that, but I really liked seeing Universal evolve like into
Mm.
like adding the drone printers, adding the Miasmancers, adding like those kind of cards. I still remember the tournaments where we're like Universal's starting to get there. It's starting to get
Mhm.
Yeah.
there, and we're like, it's all Universal. Like now, like someone they figured it out. We're like, it's
Yeah.
all Universal,
So,
and
yeah.
it did have to go through its own heavy hits to kind of take it off the throne. But yeah, Universal was so good for such time. But some of those key cards like the Miasmancer were really cool to see them make their way into the deck and then become like staples for a little while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then so almost like the Miasmancer then not only became kind of like a counter to that, but then all the other decks then started to ramp up a bit. So the Miasmancer was really then good against Lemmy, for example, early on, just to try and
Hmm.
stop some of the LPCs from going crazy. Again, against like Neve, it was like, okay, stop Neve as much as you can until you kind of get like a demo, for example, and then you can just demo, right? So it had like so much use case, and like it was a little bit of a shame for me. I was a little bit sad. Don't know about you guys, but I was really enjoying playing the Miasmancer. And then when it got nerfed, it's like I pretty much just took it out of all my decks,
Hmm.
and I kind of do miss it, because it was fun to play
Yeah,
down. But maybe in the future, when
I
more
think
cards are
it'll.
added, it'll
I
come
think it'll
back.
still be good.
Mm,
It just needs like like keep in mind like there's not like any crazy musters that you like have to stop at a certain
Mhm.
turn now too, right? Because
yeah,
Universal as a whole isn't around as much. But I think once we see a card like that pop up again, you'll see the Miasmancers pop up.
yeah,
I think it was a good change overall because like yeah, they reduced the health from a 3/3 to a 3/1 unit, but now like you said, it's getting taken out. It's only there for like its main use case rather than being like, oh, I'll just play this 3 drop that's just super good also
Yeah.
because of this muster.
yeah.
So I mean, that's one thing that's a card that I always give kudos to the design team, the
Oh
balance team
yeah,
for fixing it in that way because I think the card still holds uh I don't know its integrity for what it's supposed to do. I don't know if integrity
yeah.
is the right word,
No,
but
I
No, I think
yeah.
so. Yeah,
All
I
right,
agree.
Quinto, moving to you. Last one, most innovative card design. What are we picking?
Well, my pick for the most innovative cards is because I think we have never seen something like this in any game.
Okay.
It's a card that's a 6 cost, 10/10 that has shielded. That it's basically
Of course.
impossible to kill, and on top of that, has an effect that you can heal it,
Mhm.
and another unit attacks it to its death. The
Yeah.
Terramech Shield Titan. Like,
Yep.
where have we seen a card like this before? In which other TCG have we seen this? So, I mean, it's something that, in all my experience playing TCGs, a card so powerful, like raw power, like so much value, playing something like this on turn 6, it's just innovative by itself. Like,
Yeah.
they went like, hey, dude, let's buff Earthen, but and we saw it, in the last major. Like the Earthen was the GOAT. It surprised us all. We went from Neve can definitely cook Earthen, and we saw it like the win rate go down and down and down with each day. So yeah, that's my pick. It's as simple as something that we have never seen before. I would say. I don't know if you guys have experience in other TCGs looking at something like this, but yeah, that's my thoughts overall.
Yeah, that
You
card
built
is
the
a
hype of that so much. We were like on the edge of our seats there. Do you guys think they'll have to nerf it? I mean, if Earthen gets
I
too
don't
good, or
think
like it
so.
doesn't have defender, right? You can always just like
Yeah.
kill the person,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't want to
don't-
see it get nerfed.
People are finding outs, and I think as long as if they ever nerf like no snitching, then they'll probably have to nerf Terramech Shield Titan.
Yeah,
But like
okay.
for now, because it's a zero cost effect, I think it's fine. It is.
Yeah.
You do get into really awkward situations when two Earthen players hit it. Like Allie and I unfortunately had to cast
Brutal.
over a tournament match that had that. But yeah, like I like the card. I think it's good, and I don't think they'll change it or need to change it. Like Earthen is still good, but I don't think it's like a dominant force that like, oh, we gotta fix this one.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's I think it doesn't need touching at all, and I think it's the right level of awkward and horrible, but there are solutions to deal with it, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like even as someone that plays Shroud mainly, when I see it come on the board, it literally strikes fear into me because I'm like I get a panic thinking like I need to get something in my hand, like literally
Yeah.
I start sweating. I really do. I start sweating,
Yeah.
thinking I need to get a card to deal with it here because I don't have it in my hand, and in 2 turns I'm dead. So I
The
kind of
planets
like
have
that
to
it's
align,
inducing that
basically.
panic.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good pick. That's a good pick.
Yeah.
You were making me think, I want to do an honorable mention to a card because Quinto made me
Okay.
think when you're like, you've never seen this in a card game, and I don't think I have. And it's not a super boss heavy card too, but Tabula Rasa.
Ooh, yeah.
I think that
a good
card is
one.
now that Quinto, the way you like kind of phrased your thought on it, on like innovative card design. Tabula Rasa is such a cool card. Allowing you to play units from your bank equal to the energy that's left. Like when I think of that card, it reminds me like we've seen it like played a lot, like especially now, like more in an aggressive way where you just play the card and it gets buffed by the relic or whatever. But there was a period, and like I think I learned a lot from like Brighty, who was like a really good Cathari player about how to use this card. He's like, when you play against Shroud, like you don't play it to spam the board, you play it to copy like your Astal's Glaive or Harp. Like you use to copy these key units that make certain matchups better. And you just bank those cards instead of trying to play them. You just try to get multiple copies off the tabula. So that was a really cool, I guess, moment to kind of see that style of play evolve, like how to use your tabula properly. So you made me think of that, Quinto.
Now that you get into that, like I've been coaching a lot of our bond members, and definitely like for them to understand the tabula, like how to play it, when to play it, like what does it do? It's been a hill to climb, to be honest. Like
it's a
like
very
it's the
high
most
skill
trickiest card to
Yeah.
play for some reason.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, that's a
And
great
it's
answer,
the-
Muka.
It's the card you don't want to bank either, isn't it? Right?
You don't want to bank it because you don't want to play. Yep. You don't want to play another tabula and then just copy a tabula. Yeah, that card is very, very punishing or high skill ceiling. But it's a really cool card. All right, I'm gonna move us on to the next question. Most important card change. This one is really tough, actually. I don't know. I struggled with this one, and I'm still struggling with this one. So I'm gonna pass it to Quinto first. Most important card change for this year.
I got a little nervous there. Like I gotta talk about this. No, I was a bit prepared. I think that the most important card change. It's not a card change. Well, it is. It's no zero cost effects with Harp of Whisper. I think that basically what it does is that, I mean, they did the other Life Siphon change, for example, but now you can't go like bonkers with Markolian on the like crack shots, the PS8s, and all of this. I think that's I mean the PS8 not being zero cost in any situation by itself is like this has been a huge tempo killer, but now it's not like as easy to play as before. So yeah, I do think that's one of the most important card changes. I do have other mentions, for example, how the Honor Steward can't kill Paragons, and
Yeah.
the CPU's token when at its
Okay.
time, how the
Yeah.
CPU's token couldn't
Yeah.
buff anymore. That's other
Some
important
heavy,
card changes we see.
some heavy
We
hitter
saw.
ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, you named what did you two? The Scipius one was big,
Yeah.
and I'm still sad that the tokens don't gain attack anymore.
Yeah.
But if it gained attack during this meta, maybe I probably would be a
He's
little.
doing fine,
Too
We
right?
will
much.
all be crying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
Scipius
Yeah.
has always been good when there's a good relic with it, right? Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
Quinto and we used to play during the alpha days, like it was the nucleotic synthesizer, right? At zero
Jesus.
cost. And then we went to like
Glorious.
Hydralist Chamber. And then once that got kind of dealt with, now we're on the high density genetic replicator. The relic names are getting longer too. Like we're gonna, for all the
Yeah,
good
they
ones
are.
I
that
know, right?
Scipius is getting. But yeah, every time there's a good Cathari relic, Scipius definitely shines because it can use that token, and maybe that's the right way to think about it. But I miss those days when I used to gain one attack. But I am gonna counter myself because if that happened right now, I think I'd be more mad than anything.
It would
Oh,
be
yeah,
insane.
yeah.
It would be
Yeah.
insanity. Total
Yeah.
insanity.
There'd be no
Yeah.
other deck to run other than Sippy, would there? Right? And everyone's already running Sippy alone
Yeah,
right now, pretty
yeah.
much. So, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I'll go next, and I'm gonna pick an unconventional one, I guess. One card that I always think about this is for my Augencore people is the kill switch change that it
Ooh,
cannot be
shit.
salvaged.
That's a nice
Every
one.
time I'm trying to figure out Augencore, I go back to Kill Switch and I'm like, man, I wish I could just play that card in Hardling Pilot in my Iraq deck and just sit cozy. What is a Terramex Shield Titan? I don't know because I have 2 Kill Switches. But that card not getting salvage anymore, I think it's still a big deal. Like even though they buffed it after the nerf a little bit, that like it's the destroy effect is now tied to the upgrade and not the unit. But man, I still miss that card being salvageable. It was such a good card, and it made Augencore such a force to be dealt with that I don't think like there's a few of those nerfs for Augencore that have put it on the back foot that it's like doesn't feel as good anymore. And without harping too much on like what I think about Augencore balance or whatever, Kill Switch was a big one. Losing that was a big deal for that parallel.
Yeah. I was talking about this recently, like how the kill switch is not salvageable anymore, like how an Iraq deck can literally deal like turn 4 you go with Hardling Pilot kill switch combo. Also you could get like if you got the Defender, you could also drop that combo and it stops CPUs on its tracks like right away, for example.
Yeah. Even like when you can still do it with Reclamator, but remember Reclamator used to give like 1 energy? Oh, maybe that's a good one too. Reclamator not giving 1 energy anymore. It used to give just 1 flat energy for those that don't know. Now it just reduces the cost of the next upgrade you play by 1, but it used to just really just give you 1 energy. So there was this shenanigan deck. Do you guys remember the Assembly Foreman deck with Augencore? Like you would play, it wasn't the whole deck, but it was a card that was played in. This was before the league came. I guess this was even before
part of the OTK deck.
Yeah,
is that the 2/1?
The assembly.
It was the
format.
2 cost 2/1 that you can either pay 1 energy and get a 1/1 token, or you could destroy a card from your bank and get a 3/3 token with armed. So like you would just play like Reclamator turn 1, destroy a card from your bank and get a 2/1 and a 3/3, and then every turn you would either choose to continue playing the game like normal or go all in, and every turn just bank a card, destroy, pay a 3/3. Bank a card, destroy a card. And I remember, I think this was before this year, but the Ardent Arena tournament, that was like the first parallel tournament, I guess. And I remember I think it was Caveman winning a game with that deck or something. But like this is a huge throwback, but I'm going down that lane. But Augencore had some spicy cards that got changed now that I think about it.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, Mooka, it's actually a really good point about kill switch, because not only did kill switch, not get salvageable anymore, but also I think the change where they made it so that it triggers when it now is removed from the field, because before it wasn't happening, right? And that was like, you could basically honored steward it and the kill switch just wouldn't trigger at all. And it was like, okay, that kill switch was for nothing. And it almost didn't make sense, right? Because if it's a kill switch and you've got your finger on it, then as soon as you kind of get banished, well, surely the kill switch goes off.
My finger is going off.
So,
it should go off.
Yeah, exactly. So
I get you.
It's a good answer.
I get your line of thinking.
Yeah, very good answer.
Let's move on to Scout. Most important card change.
All right. Well, this is going to not seem as great as your answers, because your answers were amazing. But I feel like this was the most important card change for me, because I do think that they had to make this change. It was just far too strangling, too stifling, I think, on the game. I think the change that they made to the artillery spotter. So basically, the effect doesn't trigger. Oh, it doesn't trigger the 2 damage on every effect. It just now does it on the first effect, right? That card was just an absolute menace, right? And it's a common card that actually had legendary power. It was way better than a lot of legendaries in the game. Like the effect it had, the influence it had on like how games were determined was just insane. And the fact that, Cathy players could, of course, get 2 artillery spotters from a rally cry on the board, and it was triggering as well when they were bringing them on, was absolute bonkers. So for me, I thought that was like one of the most important changes, because it went on for so long. It was, as I say, a common that had incredible power. It was central to the deck and almost winning games. I was involved in so many games myself where as soon as the rally cry brought on 2 spotters, you were like, okay, I'll sit back then and just die, because you'd end up getting killed for like 20 damage from the 2 spotters in one turn, and you couldn't do anything about it. So I thought that they had to make that change just so that the game didn't become unfun, that it wasn't super overwhelming for people, especially newbies coming in and getting used to the game, and then just all of a sudden seeing that. So for me, I thought that was a really important change. I'm glad the team made it. And now I think the card works probably the way it should have worked from the start. Almost similar to the Baron, right? Because the Baron had a similar kind of nerf where the Baron was just kind of triggering loads of effects depending on how much you played. And now it's the first effect in a turn. So yeah, I thought that was a really important.
Wait, is Spotter still the first? Is it the first effect a turn?
Is it? I thought it was. No, or am I getting that completely wrong?
Sure, which card?
You're talking about the unit, right? Artillery spotter.
Yeah.
It's just 1 damage, but it's not the
just
first
1
per
damage.
turn.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll mess that one up then. So it's just 1
It's
damage
still a
rather
good
than
change.
2.
Yeah. The big thing
okay.
that you are noticing, right, though, is that it doesn't work with Rallying Cry anymore. Like, you can't bring it out with Rallying Cry and you get the burn from it.
Yeah.
While you were saying all that, I was like trying to hold in a smile because I was remembering a time where I did over 40 damage to a Shoshana player in 1 turn.
Oh,
and I remember just being like, this is unreal. I just kept laughing. I was like, this is so unreal that I'm doing this or whatever. And I think it was iRacer. This is the makes it even more funny for everyone knows iRacer, but if you don't, he is a big Earthen maxi and very, very vocal about Earthen. He loves playing Earthen. Very, very good Earthen player. But yeah, I remember doing it to him and him being like, what just happened? And I was just laughing. I think I responded to him. So I'm like, I'm sorry. I think that's what my response was. But yeah, like when it gets done to you, it's definitely not fun. Like I've had it happen to me and I'm like, all right, well, I'm just going to let him finish the combo. I will go use the bathroom or whatever. But sometimes there were some moments with that deck because that was one of the decks I played pretty early, even before they buffed fleet support and stuff like Quinto and I talked about it a bit. So it was just fun to do that before it got popular, and then when it got popular, I'm like, okay, maybe this is too much. Like let's fix
That's
this a little. Yeah,
it was 40 damage in 1 turn. I don't know. Can't be healthy for the game.
No, not at all. Yeah, I think I remember making a video like a short video on Twitter, and I was like, you know what's like a matchup that's not fun? And I was like Marco burn mirrors because I was like, you have no control. Like I remember just being like, do you have the burn? No. Do I have the burn? Okay, now I win. And it was like some kind of argument like that I was giving. But yeah, that's a good one. Spotter
Yeah.
losing its big kind of damage thing with only one damage and not working with the rallying cry. I think those in synergy were really, really big. Allie, most important card change for you.
All right. I think that so much of this year was dominated by the Universal Workshop deck,
Mhm.
and so I think my answer is Ingrid, but it's kind of like the change to both of them, Freitas and Ingrid, that just kind of took the deck off the map, and that's why I'm using it as my answer, like to absolutely just like kill an archetype. Like I just, Universal was basically taken out of competitive play when so much of the games that we casted was, the tournaments were dominated by it. So I suppose Ingrid would be my answer. And then also in the same vein, the jury-rigged Juggernaut change, not having battle ready, that also completely took that deck off the map as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Big
I would
change.
say.
Yeah, those
Yep.
are good ones, I think, because right, like those decks were literally like one card decks and then a whole engine to make sure that the one card could get played and do its
Yep.
thing.
Yeah.
So it makes sense, like the workshop, the jury rig Juggernaut OTK, and then Ingrid, you'd be like losing a game, right, and then you would just draw Ingrid and be like, oh, I won, like we're good,
Yeah.
like everything's fine.
Yeah. The swing was
Um,
too big, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like artillery spotter, like Burn Kathy still survived. You know what I mean? Like because they
Yeah.
had fleet support and stuff. I mean, well, I guess it evolves, but it's still there's still burn heavy Kathy lists and stuff like that. But to like
Yeah.
completely take an archetype out, I feel like is pretty significant.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a pretty big one. All right, so we
I
have
can't believe.
Yeah.
Sorry, I can't believe that
Oh, go ahead.
I can't believe I thought artillery spotter changed in that way. I must have just had it fixated in my mind that like
Yeah.
that's how I wanted it to change, and it changed that way.
Just wanted
It didn't. It
wanted to
didn't.
destroy the card that
Trauma.
bad.
Yeah.
It's like one burn a turn.
Yeah.
First card.
PTSD.
Damn
Yeah.
it. Yeah. Well.
I'm surprised none of us really mentioned Baron. I guess Baron is kind of a big one too, right? That it's only one of the first effect you played, rather than it used to be every effect you played you generated a random copy based on the cost, right? You would just like spam. Remember like Baron and Triumph of the Lost against like a Cathari Triumph of Europa, and you would get like 4 or 5 cost effects played.
Yeah.
People still
That was
play them
insane.
though. You know,
Yes,
like
they
it's
do still play 'em.
useful,
Yeah.
and
It's very
half
true.
the time, like
Yeah.
the random spells didn't do anything. You know, so
Yeah, that's a good point. Very good point. All right, so we have 2 questions here that kind of look the same to me. So most memorable moment in League Play of the Year, are those the same, or are those, would we say, different? Do we want to merge them together?
you can merge
Well,
them.
Well, I
Okay,
have
if
two
they are
different
different,
answers.
yeah, if you have 2 different answers, then say both at different answers.
Yeah.
I don't want to steal anyone's thunder. So does anyone want to go first on this one, that you feel like you got a good one you want to just say first?
Well, yeah, I'm happy to go first. Unless
Okay,
Ali, you want to
All
go
right,
first?
Scout, go.
No, Ali.
Okay, I will. I want to steal this answer. I really think in the most recent major, Manos going for the 20%.
Yeah.
To summon the Terramech Shield Titan, which basically like that won him the game, which won him the series. Like it could have. I think he had to go for the gamble. To get that huge swing. And if he didn't, it could have gone the game could have been extended, and then he could have, potentially lost the series. So I would say for play of the year, especially because it was a risk too, I think that deserves the trophy, at least in my book.
Okay. No, that was a good one. I mean, I went back and watched the clip a few days ago because it popped up on Twitter, and I heard my scream, and I was like, I don't think I've like been like that freaked out on stream over like a play. Like, I mean, I'm not as good as like at like yelling as like Deathsea, but like I've had some pretty like big like oh my god moments, and I think that was the biggest where I was like, I cannot believe, you could hear my voice that I couldn't believe that it hit.
Yeah. I got to say, I didn't think your voice could go that high. Actually, Mookah, I listened to it too, and I was like, "Wow, he's got some high pitch there. You can get some high notes there. It's amazing."
I appreciate it. I'm gonna take that as a big compliment. I got range, vocal range.
You do, yeah, definitely.
All right, yeah, that was a big one. Do you have is that both for you, like moment of the year and League Play of the Year, Hallie?
It is until I
Okay.
think of another one. So someone else
Okay.
go.
All right. Scout, you had two. You had two separate ones.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I want to say as well though, I love that 20% for 20K that Ali just picked there. I think
Yep.
it was really so amazing that, and to witness it live as well was incredible. I have two different ones. So like my favorite moment of the year was definitely the YGG Play Summit
Mm.
Showdown, the LAN tournament. So in real life tournament over in Manila. That was amazing. And it was amazing for so many different reasons. First of all, it was 50K originally, and then the legend, the GOAT of the community, AI Rev, decided to double that and put 50K of his own money in. So it was a 100K prize pool, which was just absolutely insane, really, when you think about it. And it was completely like anyone could participate, right? You know, you didn't need to have like a certain position, you didn't need to like be in a certain like ranking. Anybody could enter, which was incredible. And then actually, kind of in Manila, it was just so good to kind of see the competitors, meet people from the Parallel team as well, which was really wholesome. And to just kind of like just get that nice vibe of being at a live tournament, you know, like it was just fantastic. And of course, the people in Manila, YGG guys, everyone was just amazing. So I felt super grateful to be there. And for me, that was my favorite kind of moment, just to kind of see the the momentum of Parallel building and taking it to that moment where it was all live. So I can't wait for the worlds. But then my favorite like league moment, um, this is just my favorite league moment. It was in the last major, and it was actually a game between Manos and Jobsad, and it was the game where Jobsad drew the scanner probe,
Mm.
which got him the win against Manos. And honestly, that game was so intense, right? And
Yeah.
it really looked like Jobsad was going to lose because he had nothing really in his hand. He'd run out of cards, and Manos kind of then had this board, but Manos was really low on health, of course. He was on one. I just thought that was brilliant. You know, it just epitomized like two top competitors going up against each other and just getting the smallest difference just to make the biggest impact. So I loved it. I thought that was the favorite
Yeah.
thing for me. Yeah.
That whole like that finals had so many moments, like clippable. I
Mhm.
remember
Yeah.
like as casters we were like get clips, and then like that whole match was like clip that one too.
Yeah.
And like we're like, just so many clips of just that game, like that whole series.
It was
Yeah.
like an embarrassment of riches, wasn't it? Because you
Yeah.
almost didn't have enough time to clip
Yeah.
everything. You wanted to clip every 2 minutes or something. It was incredible. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so little of the time do we see games really go to fatigue and like the
Yeah.
card that you draw making the
Hmm.
difference, you know? Like it's the little spice of like randomness I think that, Parallel has, decided to add into their fatigue system and it, like
Yeah.
actually was relevant. So, yeah, that
Yeah.
was pretty great to see.
I think also as well that was Manos. Even though he said in the interview at the end that like he was sweating and he wasn't cool and collected, like he was
Yeah.
under a little bit of stress. In that moment, we actually saw Manos like really animated. Like he really flew himself back. He was like, "Oh no, like I can't believe he's drawn that." And then
Yeah.
for the rest of the series, he was pretty chill. He looked pretty chill
Mhm.
anyway. So it was quite nice just to kind of see like the passion and the emotion come through from Manos as well in that moment. Yeah, I
Yeah.
loved it.
That was that whole series. What a good major. I'm
Oh,
like it
Yeah.
amazing.
makes me so excited for majors 3 in January, and then obviously worlds.
Yeah.
All right, I will go next. Most memorable moment. I don't know if I'm gonna get flamed from production from this or whatever, but it was it was the Swiss part of this major. The infinite cash deck, I think,
Mm.
is gonna be my favorite moment of the year. It it was chaos, but you'll see why I liked it. There's a video that I'm making and it's gonna come out about it. It was just kind of I just
Okay.
think it's such a fun lore moment. Like it was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. But I think every game has to go through one of those.
Mm.
Hopefully just one. But yeah, like it was just madness. Like I went back and read the tournament chat from that, and if you're in it, read it. It is hilarious. Like it is some of the funniest things I've ever seen. Like people are like, let's just do the tournament next week. Like, people like, and it was like a vocalized thing. Yeah, it was that moment. I think is my favorite. It was just is like not if I was in the thick of it, maybe I wouldn't be as like I wouldn't think it's as funny as it is like looking back on it and just like witnessing it happen kind of on the sideline. And it led to this huge epic match with D Money and Lambie, and we got like the craziest like Lambie quote ever with the tweet he got where he's like, "Stay cringe, I play to win." Um, and then League Play of the Year is also I'm gonna give to Lambie with the Adira. He had this Adira synchronicity combo where like he played Adira. I think he was playing Perp, or I forgot who he was playing, but he played Adira. It was in the second major. He swung with the Adira, hit a synchronicity, played the synchronicity, got another Adira, and then like he hit again, and I forgot what he hit. Like he hit like I think he could have hit like another synchronicity, but he went for Triumph of Europa or something. It was some crazy play. And he just kept like the Adira kept comboing. It was so insane to see that happen. I think that's my favorite play of the year.
Yeah.
That was insane.
When Ali
I couldn't believe that.
was talking about it in the chat before the broadcast. I remember like it came back to me. I had forgotten about it because I think it was the two of us, Free Tips, that were casting it. I remember like you were speaking about something, and then when I saw the synchronicity, and the second synchronicity was insane. Definitely an absolute cook. But yeah. For me, I would go with a memorable moment that I mentioned it during the last major, the amount of energy, the amount of chatting that went on that last major in the tweet chat, like the jokes, the copy paste, the pasta, the amount of moments that created something special there. And also behind the scenes, us, the casters and the production team, we were also like laughing a lot during, like we had so much fun. I think that was the peak for me since the beginning of Parallel, like where I could see like the whole community just having fun. Yeah, because this is what we want, and from a game, and like also the competitive scene and all of this. It's more than the sum of itself. So yeah, I would say that was the peak Parallel right there in the last major.
That's so spot on. Like that major was so good. I felt like, man, like we're like we started off the league being like, we feel it's coming, and then like that last major I was like, oh, I think we hit it. Like the community was like full throttle, like sending memes and just enjoying, like the reactions to plays were like out of this world. It was so big.
I mean, we have like a parallel hero now, like Manos is like he's a meme. Like there's so many stickers about this stash, this thing. Like I mean, he's born from Parallel, like as a personality. I can't wait to see Manos, the first Manos stream at some point. Hopefully, crossing my fingers.
Man.
Okay. I want to bring up, it just came to me, another memorable moment that I think is just in the same note of being very wholesome. Tyler, when he won, I think it was a minor, and just like him and Fino just like being buddies and just hanging out, and just I don't know what moment I'm talking about specifically, but he won on his birthday, so I think that was pretty cool. And also just Fino in the background, like I don't know, those two making content together, playing the game is just incredibly wholesome, and I feel like that's been a memorable thing of this year for sure.
It's almost like a buddy comedy film, isn't it? That they're constantly living.
It was so good when they were doing it together. I mean, I'm sure it'll happen soon because Tyler is moving he announced he's moving to the Philippines, and I think Fino said he might be doing it too. Wow. So like they'll be, their YGG squad will be pretty close, right? So I'm sure more of them will be playing together on streams or things like that. So that'll be really cool to see. I was just thinking too, for me, like when you talked about Tyler and Fino and them doing stuff together, that moment when I walked in, this is during the YGG Play Summit, and to the tournament room where the players were getting to start to play offline the first day. And they were all just, at first people were just kind of like saying hello and just sitting down, but then like after more and more people entered, you saw the energy change, being like, "Oh, I'm this person, I'm this person." Everyone would be freaking out and being like, "Oh my god, like this is insane." Like I remember going with I went with Manos, Jason, Malston, and Brighty to the drug screening. So there's a drug screening. If you guys don't know, that happened beforehand. All the players that played at YGG have an official game license. They're real gamers. They had to do a drug test, and I remember like I met Bullbents, and I got to see Zeliusir, Zarathustra, I think I said Bullbents already, Penzokin. But just seeing them in person was so crazy. They're being like, "Oh, that's me," and like that like excitement and just talking and hanging out. And I was giving out free packs in Manila of the physical cards. It was a lot of fun. So that just seeing the players like hang out and then go in the zone when they're like, "Hey, tournament's starting," and you just see like hear everything become quiet, and they're all just like getting their deck list and looking at it and picking their bands. Like that was kind of crazy to see happen live. All right, I'm gonna segue us to another question. Favorite deck of the year. So across the whole year, what was the deck that you like to see the most? I will throw this one to Quinto first. Favorite deck of the year.
Oof, that's a difficult one. That's definitely a difficult one. I mean, I would say like annoying, but one which I had like one of the most fun. It was definitely Kathy Burn. Like the fact that I have a clip where I did like 34 damage in one turn to an Earthen player that was about to beat me. Like that's a sort of
you can tell like who the Marco players are because we're smiling, and then you can tell who the Shroud players are because they're just like being quiet.
Disappointed.
Are like holding in, like cracking up, thinking about all the moments we've burned people like from full to zero.
Triumph of Europa.
Scout and Allie are just like looking like so angry, just like
ridiculous.
You guys are responsible for most of my trauma. Not you, Allie, but the other guys, right?
Yeah.
I mean, also, I do have to say, honorable mention, the Universal deck, how it evolved, because it wasn't. I remember I was playing, like, in the beginning of Planetfall, I was playing against Mookah with my Universal deck. He was playing the Kathy Burn, and he was just destroying me. And I was like, dude, what is this? And then the Universal evolved to a point where it was, like, unbearable. And so seeing it evolve, because in the end we all had the same cards. Like the Maya Mancer was there from the beginning, the Drone Printer was there from the beginning, cards that were super special to this deck. And when it finally got like fine-tuned, it became an absolute menace, and everyone was playing it. So yeah, that's another favorite deck, because I started playing Planetfall with a Universal deck. Like the first season of Planetfall, I went Universal. So watching it develop was great for me.
I'm gonna backpack off that because Universal is one of my picks too. I just liked it became such a force, but like seeing like each tournament, like one new card get found, and then okay, this is the card you put in it.
Yeah,
it's get in there, one more new card, and then the Drone Printer tournament was like the real deal where you're like, okay, now this deck has what it takes to be the best, and just seeing that evolve was kind of really cool to see. The other one that I want to pick is the current Earthen list. Like, I think Earthen, the fact that Earthen has been able to now officially combat its stigma that it auto loses to Shroud it's such a big thing, right? That the deck is good enough that it does not lose to its like auto counter. It's now more of a close matchup. And some argue that it's even has an edge, right? It's really cool, and the deck also has like slight build variations, right? You play the Altars of Gaia if you want to be better in the mirror match, or if you want to be better into everything else, you don't play Altars of Gaia, you just go full allocated provisions into like that kind of style of play. So I like that deck a lot. The Earthen is a big one, and it was really cool to see it in the major perform.
Yeah, it's actually crazy, isn't it? How like
we saw it in real time.
Yeah,
real time.
It's kind of crazy how overnight that like Earthen just all of a sudden became a force to be reckoned with, didn't it? Because as you say, it has carried that stigma of just being like, people used to say to me in the stream, you know, when we were playing Shroud and we were matched up against Earthen, they used to say, "Oh, you've got an automatic win here." And I always used to say before Earthen got all the aftermath cards, I said, well, I don't know, because there's a couple of like interesting Earthen decks out there that can be really tricky for us. But most of the time, you kind of thought, well, if they don't quite get those cards, it usually is kind of a win for Shroud. But then, as you say, like now, it's like when you get faced up against Earth and your Shroud, you're literally crapping your pants a little bit because you think like, this is not going to be easy at all. And if anything, they could take me right to the brink and really embarrass me here. And so, yeah, it's incredible the transformation that Earthen's had. I think iRace is probably the happiest man in the world, isn't he? Since Aftermath got released.
Yeah. He wasn't a believer at first. I want to make that
No.
a little note. He
Yeah, he
wasn't a
wasn't.
believer. He thought Earthen was still bad, and then I remember seeing his X tweet, and he's like master, and he's like, guys, Earthen is good now. And I was like,
yeah.
you got it.
Clicked.
Yeah, it was really cool to see that. I agree. It was really cool to see that development. Is that your pick, Scout, or do you have what do you got for your your favorite?
Well, when we're
deck?
saying like favorite deck, are we saying favorite deck that we've seen in the league, or just kind of favorite deck in general that you've ever seen someone play or that you've played? Like how's the question?
Up to speculation of the answerer. So however you wanna frame it.
Okay. I think I probably got like a two-pronged answer then, because I kind of agree with you, Mookah. I think it was really quite amazing to see how strong Earthen were. So if I was going to talk about a deck that I've seen in the Parallel League, it would be the Earthen one, because wow, I mean, just the synergy of that deck now, and the ramp that it's got, and ramping into like units that can then create free units, like the Terramech, the Terraglider creating Terramechs, or the Terraglider creating like Terras. It's insanely good, and it's just got so much in its toolkit, right? The Earthen, it's got cleanses, it's got heals, it's got good relic removals, it's got kind of like great defenders. It's just got everything really. So to see that to start to come to the forefront, and I am getting excited for like Deception already, even though we just had Aftermath. I can't wait to see Earthen evolve even more, because we already got hints, didn't we, from Koji way back when we were doing the interviews on was it the Invitational or the Minor? Which one was it? I always get confused on that one, where we had the guys come in and do an interview, and I remember Koji said on the
it was the Minor.
Was it the Minor? Yeah,
the Paragons down Minor, I think.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Because I remember he was sort of saying that, Earthen's going to have its day, and it's not going to be in the next set, but it's going to be building towards that. And we're seeing it now, aren't we? Like, so for me personally, if I was going to look at like a league deck or a deck that I've seen in the league, it would be Earthen. But then I've got like quite an unusual answer here. The deck that is more my favorite, because I've had so much fun playing with it. There was like a 2-week window before the Aftermath cards dropped, where I kind of put this deck together with John, and it was like an OTK deck, and it was really fun because you were using the Graphene Battery and you were using the Wannabe Warlord, and I just had so much fun playing that deck. It was not super consistent, but it didn't really matter, because you would take, say, like 3 or 4 losses to get the one win. It just felt so satisfying to get that win. And a lot of the time, opponents didn't really know what you were playing at, and you would just all of a sudden surprise them out of nowhere. So, yeah, it was nice to play with John, and I wish we could play more with him, right? I mean,
playing Parallel on hardcore mode with John
yeah, exactly.
There.
Yeah, nightmare mode, I think you'd say, yeah. But it was great, honestly, and like he's a paragon that even a lot of people who had been playing the game for a while kind of said to me on the streams when I was playing with him, like, who's this? Is this like a new paragon in the game? And I was like, no, it's not. It's one of the oldest. It's from the start. So it was quite nice and refreshing to do something different. And it came about because, we were just getting hammered by Kathy. So we just thought, well, what's the point? If we're going to lose, we might as well lose and have fun at the same time. And it kind of forced me to just start to put together something a bit different. So yeah, John and Earthen, which I was not expecting to say here. Thought I was going to say like a Shroud,
I think John is, I'm like really trying to think back, is the only Paragon that has not seen any league success, because you could argue, the only one you could argue is Armor Division, but we have Quinto here, who was able to top a minor with the Armor Division. We've seen Asio make it to top tables. Even Gafar has seen it. And yeah, I think John is literally the only Paragon left that has made it to a top table.
I feel
that-
like this is an invitation for anyone out there, you know, one of the pro players that just wants to be the first to say, I got John to like a major final or something, you know? It'd be incredible. So
I
there you
love
go,
it.
take
I
it
would
up.
love it.
Yeah.
All right, Allie, favorite deck of the year. I believe you're the last one on this one, right? Everyone else went.
Think so. Yes. So I've got two answers. One's like a personal one.
Okay.
When Planetfall just came out, I think I was really one of the first people that was playing Neve because she wasn't very popular prior to
Mm.
Planetfall. And I remember
We were all bad.
just not losing with her. And I'm like, I was talking to like Tyler and Fino and Desi, and I was like, maybe I'm just getting lucky, but I think Neve is good, you know? And a couple days later, Tyler came back to me. He's like, nope, yep, you're right. Neve was definitely good with
Yeah.
the zero cost Dominion. So I feel like that was just sort of like a fun moment for me for like iterating on the deck and winning a lot with it, and it was nice. But I mentioned it earlier in this episode too, but I just love that Scipius deck so much. I love Odious as a card, so like that early Scipius build with the Hydraulis Chamber before it got mega nerfed. I think that would be my other answer. And then honorable mention to the Augencore backpack list where we saw the crazy
Okay.
memento of the
Yeah.
fallen,
Oh,
combo
that's so
type deck,
true.
right? Like that was a
I
fun
take
one.
back everything. Backpack Ogden was my favorite. I'm so dumb. That's
Yeah.
my favorite. That's
There
my
you go.
favorite. Oh, sorry. I don't mean to take that from you, but like,
No,
that was
you
such
can
a
have it.
fun
It was-
combo. It was such a fun. It still is a fun combo.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, I mean, it takes a lot to get it going more now than in general. Like, you used to have a little more leeway back when it was like getting more popular, but that just like getting the Hardling pilot with the portable energy bay, and then just getting a bunch of drones playing the Memento, and then or doing it with the Tavastar ship too. Like, man, that was the first combo that I was like, because I come from Yu-Gi-Oh, which is a very combo oriented TCG. So that was the first one where I'm like, oh, this feels good. Like, this feels like how I felt when I was playing like Yu-Gi-Oh. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just doing interactions. Oh, I won the game. Like, I was able to do like this cool combo. So I don't even know. I
Yeah.
can't believe I didn't think of that one. That you gave me like
You can
such a
take it.
euphoria thinking about that one.
You can take my honorable mention, but honestly, having this discussion though has made me realize, like, for only having a couple to a few sets in parallel, there has been so much variance in the
Yeah.
decks that have been created. Like, one, hard game, but two, there have been a lot of pros that have come up with off meta stuff that has wound up really rising to popularity. So like Jason bringing Gafar to that one, that was also, I would think, a highlight. Was really cool to see. So, I think there's a lot of opportunity here for pro players to come in and like really showcase their deck building skills.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
There's certain players that like them for the decks that they kind of like created or like helped pioneer. Like I like when I think of like Jarla, for example, like he was always a Neve believer, like you were, Ali, and everyone used to doubt him. And then like now Neve is like the best Shroud Paragon, and everyone like knows like, oh, Jarla equals Neve. And then I remember this one moment in Manila where Jason and Malston were walking into the convention center, and they're foreigners, and I guess they're taller, so people were looking at them, like staring at them a little bit as they were walking in. And Malston goes to Jason. He's like, "Oh, like, do you see all these people staring at us?" And he's like, "Don't you?" He's like, "Don't you know? They know that they heard the Gafar Bros are in town." And it's just like yeah, those some of those players get really known for the decks they play, and it's like when I think of Iraq, I think a lot of Fino. I think Fino's like one of the best Iraq players. So like some of those guys have cemented their names with certain paragons, and it's really cool to see that develop. And maybe we'll get a John, a player known for playing John. The only player that I've known do well with it is like Sparrows on stream, but that was during rank calibration, so give or take some matches. All right, so with that one, we have one final question. What are you looking forward to the most in 2025? And and it can't. Oh man. Okay, you can add another. I know you're all gonna say worlds, so it has to be something else with worlds. Um, I feel like I have to add that in there. So something alongside worlds, or something within worlds, a particular moment that you're looking for in worlds,
Okay.
or whatever. We'll give a little leeway. I'll start first, I guess. Man, okay, so I handicapped myself too, right? Because like
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
like
I'll start
all right,
first, and then
I'll pick a
Yeah.
specific moment within worlds. Like I think it'll be really cool to see some of the stuff that happens maybe like off site. Like like where I want to see like where the community is gonna meet and like hang out during like the games or during the event. Like I'm really looking forward to seeing like pictures of being like this is our watch party of the thing, like in Vegas, like maybe they have something set up. I think that'll be really cool to see. That's what one of the moments that I'm looking forward to the most for next year. If anyone wants to jump in, I'll leave the floor open. If anyone want to jump and shout out their moment for next year that they're excited for.
Yeah, I mean, I'll piggyback off of that because it's a outside event of Worlds. But look, I love electronic music. I just want to see the gamers at the club, okay, dance it. I'm
Just
like
like
trying to figure out how to like we all need to get a table and go see a show. And yeah, that's my
I saw a glimpse,
You know-
a very small glimpse of that in Manila, and the Parallel
Yeah.
Yeah.
competitive players at least are ready for it. I can say that much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And some of them have got some moves as well. I mean, I remember seeing, like Tyler
Yep.
getting his moves on. D Money has some
Right.
moves to him. He says he doesn't, but I'm telling you, he does when he has a few drinks in him. So, yeah, like I can't wait for that too. It should be quite funny to see everyone and fun. Yeah.
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 Scout, we'll pass off to you. Favorite? What are you looking forward to most in 2025?
I'm going to be a little bit different. I'm
Okay.
still going to say Worlds, of course. So I'll just get this one out of the way. Definitely Worlds. And I think the thing that I'm really interested to see at Worlds are some of the side events that we're going to be doing.
Yeah.
It's been talked about a little bit in some of the ambassador calls. But yeah, some sort of competitions, some like maybe design your card. I'm just really interested to see what we're going to be doing in outside of the world specifically. So I think that'll be really, really cool. And then the thing that I'm really looking forward to outside of that in 2025 is actually Colony. I can't wait to see Colony because Kalos is like the master teaser. He's teasing us every day, it feels like, with 4 or 5 different screenshots or videos of Colony, and it just looks super fun. And I just love the whole concept where you're not really playing it. Like you're just checking in every once in a while on your AI agent to sort of say, hey, how much Prime have you earned? Like what adventures have you got into? I just think that's going to be so fun. Yeah, so I can't wait for that.
I played Colony once of an early build early this year, and I haven't recovered with how much I want to continue playing the game. Like
Are you in
every time
withdrawal?
I get really sad when people mention Colony because I just think about like how much fun I was having for 2 hours and
Yeah.
then being like, all right, we're wrapping this up, and I was like, wait. Like there's there's so much left to do. Like, what do you mean? I didn't even get to like scratch the surface. I felt like some people like had played multiple versions. You could tell based on like how they were progressing with their AI, like how they were working together, and they got so much more done. And I felt like a noob, and I was like, no, I need another try. Like, give me another try. I understand now. So yeah, Colony, man, that's a big one.
Yeah.
That's a very big one.
I feel like that's the sort of game as well where even though you're not playing it, for me, I'll want to be checking in almost every 5 minutes to see what have I missed, what's going on. So it's the sort of game that you're constantly just going to be dragged back to, and you're going to be like, I'm losing so much time where I'm not really doing anything in my day because I'm just constantly checking on my AI agent to see what he's up to. So
even like parallel streamers will probably use a part of their screen that's like streaming their phone alongside parallel and being like, hold on, my thing's doing something. And they hit a key and it goes to the full screen on the phone or something. And you're just playing like Colony for a second. You might get some stuff like that. I've been thinking about that a lot, like how Colony will change like at least some of the streaming we see within the parallel scene, but maybe in general, like you'll see like always 24/7 running like Colony streams where someone's like following a person's AI and seeing like the journey of the colony and stuff.
Yeah.
Actually, like the perfect thing in between queue times, right? We'll just tab over.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
check in on our agents.
Yeah.
Agree.
Be a big one. All right, Quinto, favorite thing you're looking forward to in 2025?
Well, I mean, also definitely Worlds, and I'm the one left out here. Definitely haven't met you all. Really excited to meet you all in person,
Yeah.
to meet the Parallel team, to meet probably like all the community members. Like I can't wait for that moment, like where they're gonna be like, "Hey, Quinto," and I'm like, "Who are you?" And they tell me their
Yeah,
name, and I was like, "Okay,
Yep.
yeah, for sure. What's up, man?" And I mean, probably my colleagues at Paragons, and definitely like all these side events, like party, as Ali's saying, like table and stuff.
Okay. Yes.
Colony, as also Free Tips has been saying, mobile lounge, everything that's gonna be going on for Parallel on the next year. I think is gonna be an awesome year. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, we saw it in these mayors. I think this everything is lining up for Parallel to be
Yeah.
successful as it is. It has to be, and as we all here has been like rooting for it since the beginning. Like, I mean, Ali like has been a pioneer in this regard. Uh, Going into parallel, I remember also Mookah and I when we were just anons there, like speaking about parallel
Alpha
also. So
days.
yeah, so I mean, the evolution and everything that's gonna happen next year is gonna be absolutely insane.
I
Yeah,
think I'm
that's for sure.
also quite interested to see, like, with the start of the new season of the league, I think a
Mm.
lot of TCG pros have like probably been having their eye on Parallel,
Yeah.
and it's not as encouraging to get into the league halfway through or towards the end. And so with the announcement of the new season, potential bump in prize pool, that kind of stuff, I'm really curious to see like who comes over and tries to be competitive
Yeah.
in Parallel as well.
That's pretty big. I've already heard of a few examples of people like being like, "Oh,
Mm.
I'm gonna wait for next season."
Mhm. Yeah.
So that will be very interesting. That's a really good point. I think
Yeah.
it's become apparent now that after you guys speak, I think of something new to mention. So I apologize for that, but I'm really thinking about deception. And I've
Yeah.
said this a
Okay.
lot in like private messages with other players that like I'm a really big fan of Veen and seeing him kind of like take the lead in the TCG. I think he's just has a wealth of knowledge and the way he tackles problems is very like I don't know elegant and like it may not always be
Mhm.
right but like he is very authentic and I like that a lot
Yeah.
and he's said time and time again that he came towards kind of like the tail end of aftermath and was involved like not with the beginning to end more like along the process so I'm very very excited and interested to see what they come up with in deception because this will be quote unquote like this new team's baby. Like this is the
Yeah.
this is the first real occurrence that we will see. Even though we've by that point we've already had this team for quite a while, but we'll be able to see like this is what their expansion is kind of like, and
Yeah.
see how that changes the game.
I mean,
Yeah.
I want to add something there, Muka. Like, um, for Aftermath, I definitely have seen more synergies between the cards that were created. Because in the beginning, the alpha days, I felt that there were many things that were like, okay, there's impossible to do synergies here. So
Mhm.
things were a bit clunky, but we have seen the progress, and I do think that in Aftermath, we definitely have seen those cards that have come and create stuff that is super fun. Like for example, Earthen, which was the main villain in non-synergetic things, and now we have like this amazing deck that you guys are saying that it's your favorite.
Mhm.
So this type of stuff, I'm really happy to see. Like since being from the beginning, like watching it develop, really nice, and definitely Deception. Like for what you're saying and what we have been hearing out, it's gonna be absolutely insane.
Yeah. I want to add something as well because I think that's a really good point from Muka about Veen. Since Veen's kind of come into the game, when you hear him talk, he's the type of game dev that gives you the confidence in the game. Like
Mhm.
because he really knows what he's talking about and he's really passionate about making sure that everything's done right and that there's a logic to it, right? And he's got so much experience. He's got like what 20 plus years experience, hasn't he, from like the Magic background? I think he was the dev there for so long, and like since he's come in, and we've had the opportunity to hear his plans and like how he's going to come in and try and just take the whole team forward. that for me has just been like such a breath of fresh air as well to see that. And yeah, I agree. I think now with Veen kind of leading the line, Deception should be really good. I mean, Aftermath I think was already pretty decent, but like, yeah, I'm really interested in Deception, which I think hopefully we get kind of soonish, right? I don't know the time frame, but I'd love to see if we get it before summer. I'd love to see that.
No, before
I mean,
summer, I think is doable. Yeah, before summer,
yeah.
I think is doable.
We
but like,
we asked that question to Kalos about like what's the how do you call it, like the time between
Cadence?
expansion
Cadence. Yeah.
He said we were asking him. He said like 6 months. That what
I mean,
was the video?
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if they're currently at like 2 sets a year. Maybe that ramps up a little bit. What is a good cadence for you guys? I'm sorry, I'm extending the show, but like, what is a? I'm very curious to hear what you guys think.
I'm used to 3. I think 3 would be.
Yeah,
probably
I'm leaning. I like
ideal.
3.
3.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'd like to see 3 too, rather than 2. Yeah. Ideally, yeah. I just think it just keeps the meta nice and fresh. You never get a period where it's getting stale, right? If you have 3 a year, whereas sometimes it can just one a month. Our production saying that would be ideal, wouldn't it? I don't think. Yeah.
Less cards. I mean, would you? Yeah. Okay. What do you think about that? 1 a month, but maybe only 10 cards introduced. But it takes time to figure out the meta. Like a month wouldn't be enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not enough.
And we have the battle pass cards also.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I think I don't know. I think I'm gonna be very curious to see. Like, I guess we saw this year 2 a month, right? And maybe Planetfall felt like it was lasting a little too long. I don't know. I'm trying to like think about it, but that's something I'm gonna be thinking about next year. Like, because there is an argument in an online TCG that you could just do a big balance patch, right? And that's technically gives a different feel again if it hits right. So I don't know. Maybe 2 will be fine, but I do lean towards 3, like you all. All right. We have now concluded all the questions. A year in review of Parallel in 2024. So unless anyone has last words, I think Allie, you're good to close us out.
Close us out quickly, succinctly. I will say that this was the 12th episode of the Parallel League podcast, which is cool because December.
Congrats.
And also I just want to give a shout to the podcast. I really have enjoyed, having so many like amazing conversations with players and the team. So Mookah, thank you for being an incredible co-host with me on this. It's been super fun. And also to Mark in production for, helping putting this on. But yeah, this has been a little cozy episode on the review. And yes, we will be taking a week off for the holiday, but we'll be getting it started back up next year. So thank you for anyone that has listened to the podcast and supported it, making comments on YouTube and that type of stuff. We really appreciate it. And I will see you guys next year. Thanks everyone for listening.
Thank you all.
Merry Christmas.
This was a 983 Media Productions podcast.